Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And welcome to this week's Thoughtful Thursday. For this Thoughtful Thursday, Lorenzo, what I want to talk about is actually the article you sent me a couple days ago from Fast Company about how happy people have habits that kind of transform their day and keep them being happy people. And I read through the article, and what I started to think is, well, are there things that we need to be doing as leaders on a daily basis? Are there leadership habits that will transform our day? And so we'll post a link to the article from Fast Company by Michelle Wax. It's a very, very quick read on the habits that will transform your day for happy people. And so, the examples that she gives in terms of from a self-help standpoint are, things like creating a words to live by list, start your morning on your own terms, like everybody hears these things around, have meditation, make your bed, the things that you want to do to kind of set yourself up for success. And so what I'm wondering is, are there things that you do in your leadership life that set you up for success or that make you a better leader that you kind of have to rely on, that you have to do kind of every day in order to make sure that you're, holding up your end of the bargain as a leader to your people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are some things that I found that have helped me to be more kind of in the moment and more engaging throughout the day. And then there are things that I just kind of look for or I seek out when I spend my day in my role. So I think an example would be one of the things I do, and people are divided on this, but I like to check my email almost immediately after kind of getting up and getting settled and having my pre-workout and kind of getting ready to walk my dogs. I like to go through what I have in my inbox to make sure, what are the things I have to action on today, and I will click them to unread. What are things that need to be forwarded out, and then what are things I just need to know? And the reason why I do that is I like to get that all out early in the morning so that I'm not then with my people and then distracted by having to work through communications and things like that, because those are going to happen throughout the day anyway.
Sure.
But I want to limit that as much as possible. And then the other things, as I kind of sent the article to you and was reflecting on it myself in our conversation, was looking for spots throughout the day to make sure that I can, connect with people and have a little bit of fun, and work on development with people. So if I look at my calendar for the day and I've got time with leaders or individuals, aspiring for leadership, and I know that I'm going to have that time, then I feel really good about that. That gives me a good amount of energy and enjoyment. If I see a day that's packed with maybe calls and operational things that I need to do that maybe don't give me so much energy but are definitely a part of the job, then I make sure that I have some spaces throughout the day where I know I can kind of get up, walk around, talk to some people, get some energy, have a little bit of fun in between, and I make a mental note of those things. And maybe those are the days where I would maybe spend lunch with somebody, where even though it's it's a lunchtime, but there's a social element to it, but it gives me a break throughout the day. So I definitely don't have as much its structure as the article has, but I absolutely believe there are things in a leadership capacity that you can do to prepare yourself to have the most successful day possible.
Sure. I mean, but to be honest, it doesn't really make sense to have that kind of structure in terms of your leadership life, as this article would imply from just a general self-happiness kind of standpoint. So you can always say, yeah, I'm going to make my bed every day, and I'm going to get my exercise in every day, and I'm going to have 10 minutes of meditation first thing in the morning every day. That's what I need to kind of fill my bucket and make sure that I'm a good person, that I'm a happy person, that I can bring my best self to my people and to my family and to my friends, so I'm not a jerk. All those things, if I know that about myself, then I can do that. Those are things you should be able to anchor to your life, whatever it is that works for you. If you go into your leadership life with a set number of things that you literally have to do on every single day as a leader, you got to be very careful there, because the life of most leaders isn't one that can be structured completely. It wouldn't make, let's just give you a real example. It wouldn't make sense if you walked in, if you're a retail leader and you've ever worked, the day after Thanksgiving, right? Maybe the idea of having, maybe your daily routine during lunchtime is to pull an employee aside and sit down and have a 30-minute or 45-minute conversation around goals and long-term potential, and you kind of pick one person per day, and that's how you get your energy, and you kind of, over time, you end up meeting with your whole team, and you start the rotation over again. It wouldn't really make much sense if you were doing that on the day after Thanksgiving in a retail environment. Those are the kind of things that you can't necessarily say this is going to be an everyday thing, because the business, whatever the business needs are, can sometimes dictate that. So if you're coming up with these things of the things you're trying to anchor yourself to, and they aren't things you truly can do every single day, you really shouldn't do them, because we're talking about habits here. We're talking about the things that you can actually anchor yourself to. And so an example I can think of that I actually do anchor myself to on a daily basis is I want to make sure that when I am talking to a person face to face, that my phone isn't in my hand, it's in my pocket, and it's on vibrate or silent, that it is not anywhere even in visibility, because it is something that I can say that I'm present and I'm in the moment. And if a distraction happens, it's not one that is self-imposed. It's one that maybe somebody else brought, and that can happen too. But having these things that I can kind of anchor myself to, even if it's not at a set time every day, it's just when these conversations happen, I know I can rely on this. That will give my people the impression that I can be relied on this. And so I want to ask you, are there any things that you do on a daily basis that you can kind of anchor yourself to when it comes to that? But before you answer that, I want to give it up to a word from our sponsor. All right, Lorenzo, I just asked you before that ad break, are there things that you kind of anchor yourself to that you make sure are kind of non-negotiables for you in order to set the right impression for your people in your leadership life, even if it's not necessarily something that is scheduled? Do you have anything like that?
Absolutely. I think a couple things come to mind. I think number one, it's finding elements of the day where I can connect with somebody about something personal. Like, when you work in an environment with a lot of employees and you have a connection with them as a leader, where, as we've talked about before, getting to know them and understand what's going on, you kind of see them and you associate them with the things that may be happening in their life. So I might ask somebody about, being a new parent. I might ask somebody about, the apartment they just got that's on their own. I might ask somebody about the new business that their partner opened up. But I make sure that there are times throughout the day that when I connect with people and I say hi and what's going on, many times the first question out of my mouth or my first statement to them is to ask them about something that I know about them that is personal and not necessarily associated with work. We will have the work conversations throughout the day. There will be times when I need to follow up with them on something that's going on. They're going to have questions of me. But if I can have an intent to start the vast majority of those conversations with something that's personal to them, I think it's very helpful. And again, it provides a space to have dialogue and conversation that I think fills both of our buckets. They get a chance to talk about something, and they know that as a leader, I'm very attuned to what's going on in their life, and I get a chance to hear more about it and to get to know more about the individual and that type of thing. I love your technology, kind of analogy around putting your phone down. As a lot of our 1 minute hacks are get your pen and paper and write this down.
Yep.
Whenever I talk about development with people, I have my little, my little black book that I carry with my pen, and any development conversations that I'm having with somebody are actually written down in pen on paper. I put away the technology, that type of stuff. We use the technology enough throughout the day to manage our business and to look at results and to communicate. But when it comes to development, that is one of the things that I like to do, and I think it sends a message that this is important and that I'm taking notes and that we're paying attention. And it's also something that I can go back and refer to, which is really, really nice to be able to flip a book open, look to the top of the page, see somebody's name, and to refer back to conversations that we've had. I think that's very powerful as well.
Yeah, I would say if you're a leader of people and you're trying to do some of these things, or these things are resonating with you, the first thing is, with what Lorenzo said around making it personal, around talking about things that are not work related, that's a muscle you have to constantly exercise in order to make sure that your people believe it's coming from a good place. Because if it's hey, how you doing today? How are your kids doing? So hey, while I have you here, let's look at the scorecard really quick. Like if it's a segue into what you really wanted to talk about anyway, or if it's perceived that way, you're hurting your relationship more than just being honest about it and saying, hey, you know what? I only look at you for a scorecard. Let's just talk about the scorecard. That's at least being honest. So if you're going to do these types of things that Lorenzo's talking about, make sure that these are separate conversations, and make sure you do them often enough. Because here's the thing: you have to actually care. You can't just care about it enough to ask from what it will get you. Like, it can't just be, well, I have to check off these boxes because I know that it will strengthen my relationship with my people, because that way they'll put out more for me. Like, if that's the reason you're doing it, you've already failed. You need to be doing this because you genuinely care about your people and you want to see them succeed, and you want to know what they're doing in their personal lives, so that if something kind of resonates with you as far as doors you can open by virtue of your position or your skill set, you can help connect those dots for them. Because the most engaged and most happy people are the ones who are doing things that they love and have a passion for doing. And the more you know about your people, the more you can make sure that their day is filled with things that they are passionate about, they genuinely love, and that they would do for free. I mean, you obviously have to pay them, but things that they actually love doing.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And have a great day.